turned it up to 73.
I turned on the air.
Oh, good.
Because he turned it down, but he.
I call to order the January 8th, 2018 meeting of the Sunset Beach Town Council, and remind all the council members to turn on their microphones so that we hear everybody can hear.
Pull them up close to you.
The first item on the agenda is, on the work session, is the draft agenda review, amendments, and approval. Does anybody have any amendments or additions to the draft agenda?
I do, Mr. Mayor. I have one deletion and one addition. Mr. Mayor, I would like to request to remove under old business item C the discussion regarding Sunset at Sunset. I also wish to apologize to those who may have misconstrued my simple intent now that the Sunset at Sunset event continues to expand to include amusement park features for the children, and that the town is not exposing the taxpayers to any potential liability risk or unnecessary legal expenses. Unfortunately, this business concern seems to have triggered rumors and misinformation, believing this event was in jeopardy. Secondly, Mr. Mayor,
let's do these one at a time. The item on the agenda also includes the setting of the event date. That's going to remain on, correct?
say that again, sir?
It's setting of the event date, that's going to remain on.
Oh, yeah, that has nothing to
Okay.
do with my concern.
Then that would be, I take that as a motion from Councilman Serrato to remove the discussion of Sunset at Sunset.
I second it.
All right, discussion?
I have some concerns about removing it. I mean, there are a lot of issues that have been raised over the last couple of days in the emails and the responses that have come out. And I think those issues do need to be addressed, and the facts do need to be presented clearly. And there are a lot of misconstrued information being exchanged in the email. So I think it's important that we do have that discussion.
Well,
I would like to speak.
wait, just a second. Charlie, you had said something?
Yes. First, I want to thank everybody who wrote concerning this to the town. I really like that participation. And there was a lot of misinformation in the answers to some of those emails. I think it's a disservice and a slap in the face to the members of Sunset at Sunset, these volunteers that have worked so many hours
Well,
to go in
your position is that you're advocating that that remain on for discussion on the agenda. And you can go into it later when if it's going to be on the agenda.
Yes, this
Okay.
should stay on the agenda.
Okay. Jan?
Go ahead, Jan.
Yeah, I would like to request that it be removed from the agenda. I am happy that there's been a request to remove Sunset at Sunset from the agenda. Sunset at Sunset is a successful event that occurs one day out of the year. It is well attended and it should be left alone. It is a done deal for 2018, in my opinion. In the future, if there is constructive criticism or change needed, it will come from a transparent and inclusive process. Most likely a series of public workshops where feedback is solicited and given in a civil manner. Any change to Sunset at Sunset should be driven by safety, fairness, and public feedback.
Jan, I cut off Charlie from making a statement. I realize that. I cut off Charlie from making a similar statement. If we're gonna talk about it, then it has to remain on the agenda. If it's coming off the agenda, then we're not gonna talk about
I'd like to
those
say
things.
something, Bob.
Mark.
I just simply think it should be taken off the agenda right now until we talk about it in the workshop.
Removal from, when you say we talk about it in a workshop, what's your,
That's next 2
you
weeks.
mean the workshop on the 23rd?
Yes.
But we still are keeping on
The
the
date,
agenda,
the date.
the date.
Yes, yeah, that's
and-
clear. That's clear. All right, so there's a motion, there's a second, I assume, to that
I second.
amendment that we just talked about. All right? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
Mr. Mayor, I simply want it removed from the agenda. I don't understand why there needs to be a continuation of any discussion. I explained my reason. So
But-
I don't understand it. It's a simple request to remove it from the agenda.
Mr.
I
Ser-
had a
Mr.
second.
Mayor.
Councilman Serrato, there's been a motion that and I can explain to you why. I don't think you want to hear the reasons why, but since 2000 and that I've been able to determine since 2010, there has been opposition to this continuing in the jurisdiction of the or under the control of the town, and in the requests, the written requests that you've made, and some of the written responses that you've made, you reiterate the same things that you reiterated back in 2010 and 2011. That's why it's going to have to, it's sooner or later, those things are going to have to be addressed, whether it's tonight or whether it's going to be a month from now or a year from now. But the motion's been made, it's been,
Can I change my motion, Bob?
yeah,
I'd like to make a motion that we take it off the agenda, period.
well,
There's already a
I don't
motion
think
on
you
the
made the
floor.
motion. Somebody, did you make the motion?
Yeah, I
Okay.
put a motion, put it as a workshop, and then Rich did not want it, he just strictly wants it off the agenda. So I want to take it off the agenda, keep the date, but take it off the agenda. That's it.
Well, we've already voted to take it off the agenda with the date. Now, if you want to bring a new motion to eliminate the workshop.
So move, yes, I do.
All right, I have a second. All right, any discussion on that?
Mr. Mayor, I understand why Mr. Serrato wants this taken off the agenda. The whole thing, all this stuff, all the answers to the emails, it's simply a fact that it's Mr. Serrato's personal vendetta against Karen Joseph.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
The motion is to eliminate any discussion at a workshop meeting, correct?
Correct.
That's the motion.
What's the motion, Bob?
The motion is to eliminate any further discussion of sunset at sunset, other than setting the date,
That's correct.
at a workshop or otherwise.
That's correct.
That's what,
Correct.
That was my
Mr.
initial intent. That's correct, which was seconded by Ms. Harris.
I have a comment.
no, it's been removed from this agenda. The new motion is that it not be discussed at a
Workshop.
workshop meeting. Councilman Corbett?
I originally did not have a problem with taking the discussion of sunset off of this agenda, as long as we did clearly have an action that formally approved holding the event as a town council, a town event, and being run by the committee. And that was the proposal I went on the agenda. They kind of got merged together. One, I want to make sure that that stays on the agenda, and we have that on there. I was prepared to back off on the discussion tonight, assuming that we would at some point in time have a discussion. You know, late today, Mr. Serrato sent out an email that he also included the beacon on, that he made 5 allegations that he doesn't explain, but it all makes the committee and the event of Sunset at Sunset and the actions of the town council come across in a negative light. And if he's going to be putting those kind of emails out there, we need to, for the sake of transparency, discuss those points and get the facts out on the table and clarify it for once and for all. And that's where we need to have a discussion. Whether
Yeah.
we do that tonight or whether we do that at the next meeting,
Mr.
is
Corbett,
fine.
that is all public record, number one. And number two, that is not part of the motion. Okay? That's all public record.
It would be part of the
happened
motion if we
several-
were
it
having a
happened
discussion.
several-
Excuse me, you're not permitted to talk over each other. Our rules prohibit that, and your comments should be directed to me. The motion is to eliminate the discussion at a workshop or otherwise. That's the motion.
That's correct.
Councilman Corbett was expressing his opinion that it ought to be discussed, whether it is a workshop or sometime in the
Yes,
future.
definitely.
All right,
I would like,
go ahead, Ms. Harris.
I
Get
would
close to
like,
the mic, please.
I'm sorry. I would like to, if there is any workshops on Sunset at Sunset, I would like for that to come from the Sunset at Sunset Committee, to have a workshop to discuss issues that they find, if they find anything necessary. It's my belief that Sunset at Sunset is successful. It needs to be left alone. It's doing a great job, and I don't think anybody can argue with that.
Well, from a purely an administrative point of view, any council person can request anything be put on the agenda, and then the council has to vote on it as we're doing tonight. It's just a draft agenda until we adopt the agenda. So, I mean, it could be, to eliminate it from the town could be put back on another agenda. To keep it in the town could be put back on another agenda. There's nothing that prohibits that, but the council would have to vote on it as to whether we're really going to discuss it. All right, so this, the motion from Mr. Councilman Benton is that there be no discussion on at all, I don't want to mischaracterize it, at all or on the January 23rd meeting.
Right now, no. You know, we got multiple emails the last couple of days. I have not read all of them. Got a bunch more today. I'm not going to make a decision on anything until I'm well transparent on what's going on. I mean, this has all been blown out of proportion,
Well,
as usual.
I just want to understand your motion so everybody
The
understands.
motion is today, we do not discuss it, and is not on, I do not want to put it on the agenda for the 23rd. If the council wants to put it on a further date, I have no problems with that.
All right. That's the motion. And did you second
I
it?
second.
Okay, you agree with the motion?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Nay.
So much for transparency.
Charlie.
One.
Come on, Bob.
And you said you wanted to add something.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I did. I would also like to add to the agenda under old business item C, which is replacement of what we just discussed. A clearer definition concerning workshops, votes. Now that we only have one council meeting a month.
Well, if I,
I'm just,
do I have a second to his motion?
I don't know what his motion is.
His motion is he wants to have a further discussion about workshops, not necessarily with related to Sunset at Sunset, but workshops in general.
Today, Rich, you want that discussion? Today? You want to have a discussion on workshop today?
well, I'm trying to get a clearer identification of what the limitations we have at workshops. Now,
If-
there's,
I do have a question, Bob. Maybe would it help me give you an answer? On a workshop, Susan, can we have a vote on issues?
We discussed this in December meeting when we decided to do this, that votes could be taken, but the primary purpose of the workshop was to work through all of the details of these things. Councilman
I have
Harris?
a point of order question. Is this not a motion to reconsider? And according to our rules of procedure, if this is a motion to reconsider the vote that was taken at
It's
the
not,
last
no, I
meeting,
don't, Councilman Serrato's motion really is to motion to discuss and for further understanding of what a workshop meeting means, not related to Sunset at Sunset at all.
I think that could be discussed between Susan Parker and Rich on a private meeting and find out the details and then bring it back up on the 23rd.
I thought we discussed it back
I
in
did.
December, but
well, Mr. Mayor, my confusion is that when we converted workshops to council meetings, one of the major reasons was because we were conducting workshops like council meetings where action votes were taken. The initial intent of a workshop years ago, when it was established, was to study issues. And evidently, it creeped into sort of like, well, it creeped into the council meetings where council were taking action votes, and which I believe irritated the taxpayers. Now, Carol Scott has a heck of a lot more experience with this matter, and this is a concern. My only concern is that we reinventing the wheel. I'm not here to have 4-hour council meetings. And, you know, if we're going to vote at council meetings, then let the people know we're going to vote. If we're not going to vote at council meetings and use them to study, then let the people know.
Well, I thought this was fully discussed back in December. I recall it being discussed fully back in December, and it was agreed by the council at that time that the second meeting, the meeting that starts at 9 o'clock, the second meeting in the morning, the second meeting in the month, was going to be primarily to go through the discussion of items to be acted upon at a Monday night meeting, but that it didn't preclude action on anything at the, they're all public meetings, the agendas are all published, and that, now,
All right.
if you want to put that.
No, is that clearly understood by all?
Yes.
Then I don't want it on the agenda.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Anybody else? Additions or corrections? I have two. They're a lot easier. We need a appointment to the North Carolina Beach Inlet and Waterway Association, and we need an appointment to the Brunswick Shoreline Protection Consortium. I'd like to add those two things.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to recommend...
Well, no, that's
what?
just for the agenda. We're not
Oh,
in the
I'm
regular
sorry.
portion of the meeting yet to talk about. They're just on the agenda, okay? They would be under new business. With those changes, any other changes to the agenda?
No.
No.
Okay.
No.
I have a comment that I wanted to make with regard to something that would be of interest to the public. As you know, the North Carolina Rate Bureau had made a recommendation to the Commissioner of Insurance for a statewide 18.7% increase in home insurance rates. They made not a recommendation, they made a request on behalf of the insurance companies, which for most of the coastal communities amounted to an excess of a 25% increase. The council authorized me to join on a letter of mayors opposing it, and I sent a letter opposing it. The Commissioner Mike Causey has rejected the proposed 18.7% increase and has scheduled a July 23rd hearing to consider more evidence. If a settlement is not reached with the insurance, with the Rate Bureau, the Commissioner would then preside over the hearing in July and issue a decision. The Rate Bureau, on that request, the Rate Bureau could then appeal the Commissioner's decision to the State Court of Appeals. That's the status of the request for the insurance increase.
Thank you.
All right. I now call to order the 7 o'clock meeting.
I have one
I'm sorry.
comment, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, the other comments. I didn't mean to preclude him.
I would just like to remind the town council that kickoff tonight is 8:15 for the championship football game. So keep that in mind, please.
The,
We're adjourned?
yeah.
What are you rooting for?
Georgia.
George, me too. We have something in common.
Alabama.
I'll call to order the 7 o'clock meeting of the Sunset Beach Town Council. Request everyone join me in pledging allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In accordance with the new policy that was adopted at the end of last year. If any member of council believes that they, or feels that they have or may have a conflict with regard to anything that's scheduled on the agenda, they should so indicate now before we get to it so that it can be dealt with. Ms. Harris?
I may have the appearance of a conflict. I don't know for sure, but I want to state this.
Okay.
I see a lot of people in the audience, and one person that's in the audience is the president of the Brunswick Environmental Action Team. I just want to, for transparency, to let everybody know that I serve on the interim board of directors for Brunswick Environmental Action Team.
All right, well, we're not taking any action with regard to the, at least I hope we're not tonight. So I don't think it would rise to the level of a conflict. Anyone else? All right. The next item on the agenda is item number 2, public comments on agenda items only. Before I recognize anyone, I want to go over a couple of parameters. The council has adopted local rules for meetings and I've expressed these before. Rules for comment periods. These were adopted in December of 2013, and I want to read you the salient portions. All speakers should address the chair to be recognized. Each council member, this really deals with the council, gets a chance to speak on a subject before a member gets to speak on a second time on the same subject. No member is allowed to interrupt another member while they are speaking. 3, direct questions to the chair. If the chair can't answer them, he should ask council or the staff for assistance. And 4 is avoid personalities, stay on subject, state any motion in an affirmative manner. Now, the public comment period, particularly applicable to the public comment period. 1, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. And I have a timer that I try and stick by. I try and request everyone to limit their comments to 3 minutes. If you go 3 minutes and 1 second, the chief isn't going to arrest you, but try and limit it to 3 minutes. The number 2, individuals are allowed to speak once per public comment period, and these were the rules that were adopted in 2013. 3, comments are be directed toward the full council and not individual members. 4, these periods are not intended to serve as discussions between a speaker and council. I want to reiterate those because I want to really be vigilant in enforcing those, because that was the decision that was made by council back in 2013, and there's been no changes to them. So I would request that everyone abide by those. Now the comment period for public comment is open. If you want to make with regard to the agenda items only, if you want to speak to an agenda item, please raise your hand, and you'll be recognized. Come forward, state your name and address, and try and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Also, I would state that it's obvious from the number of emails that we received and the size of the gallery that there's interest, substantial interest in things, and if in keeping with Mr. Corbett's comment about the championship game, if you have repetitive comments, I request that you just don't repeat the same things, that I can recognize you and say, I agree with so-and-so or whatever, that if, so that we don't go through unnecessary dilatory conversation. All right, the floor is open now for public comments. That's the agenda. Sir?
I just have a question.
Well, you have to come up and, because the microphone's, the record has to be made of it.
John Hughes, Sunset Beach. I just have a question.
Is that on? Yes, it's on. It's on.
Yes, it is on.
Okay.
Since the discussion of Sunset at Sunset was removed from the agenda, there's a number of people here that I think wanted to speak on the Sunset at Sunset issue. Does the removal of it from the agenda preclude all the comments?
No, there's a comment period on anything at the end of the meeting, where you can comment on anything.
Okay, that's the end of my question.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
we do still have the actual making a vote
Well, yeah,
on
there-
Sunset at Sunset. So
Right, but-
Sunset at Sunset is still on the agenda.
But it's on the agenda as to the date. Neil?
Neil Gilbert, 1150 Seabourn Way. That's the Cape Side neighborhood of Sunset Beach. First of all, Happy New Year. Mr. Benton, Mr. Serrato, it's good to see you back. Congratulations, Mr. Corbett, Mr. Nerd. And I especially want to congratulate my friend, my mentor, Jan Harris. She mentioned the Brunswick Environmental Action Team. I am so pleased to know that Sunset Beach truly has a friend in the environment serving on the council. The reason why I originally came here today was to talk to you about Sunset at Sunset. As a resident, I've lived here since 2010, and I think it's one of the greatest things that this town has to offer. And I'm so glad to hear that you have removed it from the agenda. Not only do I like it as a resident, but last year I served as a vendor on the Environmental Resource Committee, and it was a very great way for us to get the word out to the people of the town and of the county. And this past year, I served as a member of the Brunswick Environmental Action Team. We were all excited about it so much that we can't wait to participate again this year. So I highly urge you to keep the date. If anything possible, don't even ever bring it up again. I think this committee does such a great job. Karen Joseph deserves a lot of credit for everything she does.
I don't want to, because if we give you the opportunity to speak on it, on its behalf, we're going to have to give everybody an opportunity.
Okay,
So,
all right.
I understand with regard to the date.
Okay.
Okay.
Final thing, I know before we had our rally last year, all 5 of our council members voted against offshore drilling. This is not on the agenda, but since we just mentioned Brunswick Environmental Action Team, I just learned about this at 3 o'clock today. At 5 o'clock next Tuesday, January 16th, there's going to be a protest at the government complex in Bolivia to oppose Donald Trump's agenda against, he wants to have offshore drilling.
That's, Neil, that's not really.
Okay, but I just want to make sure everybody knows, and I know this council was 5-0 last year. You're against offshore drilling. We don't want it. All of a sudden, it's out there. We don't want that to come to Sunset Beach. I'm just making that public. Thank you very much for listening to me. Hopefully, I'll see people next Tuesday.
You're making it tough, Neil. You're making it tough.
Okay, Bob, give me this gavel.
Any other member of the public want to speak on agenda items? Ms. Scott?
I can't believe I'm doing this. I promised I wouldn't, but this is on Carol Scott, 1527 North Shore Drive. This is on the special event sign issue. I'm a little concerned that the suggested ordinances permit signs to be erected for up to 25 weeks, and 2 weeks before, half a year, you're going to have signs up at the park, and I don't think this is really what was intended initially for some of these special event signs. In addition, depending on how many events you have, you know, people put up a sign and they have an event for an hour once a week, and yet that sign stays up, you know, for months at a time. I would suggest that that you rethink how many signs you want up, how long they're going to be up. I think this is too much. And the other concern is that there have been conflicts before with events going in when there are multiple events, and everybody wants to put up a sign, and then you've got, you know, 8 signs plastered all over the place. You need to conform with what we did on the park policy, and there was a section I think we put in there on conflicts between vendors wanting to erect signs. And we said we had the power to say, no, you know, this person can put up their sign, but not you this week. So that should be reflected in whatever you do. And again, I would rethink how many signs and how long they're going up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Colson?
Gordon Colson, 7385 Belmore Drive. I had a big speech on support to save Sunset at Sunset, and I'm so glad that we took it off of the agenda for tonight. But what I will say is that as the chairman of the Committee to Honor America's Veterans, we really support the Sunset at Sunset. And furthermore, what I think we really need to do is take, and in my view, the town needs this event, like it was already said, and the event needs to be on the first Saturday of October, as long as we can keep it there. And we all need to get behind the committee of volunteers to show this town off. Thank you and happy New Year.
Thank you. Other public comment? Ms. Joseph?
Karen Joseph, 915 San Barbara Bay Drive. First, I'm speaking on behalf of the Sunset at Sunset Committee. I am not speaking as an individual. I want to thank those of you who had positive comments to make about the event and the people who worked so hard to put it on. The committee had hoped that this town council would have a discussion tonight, and that it would once and for all say the town of Sunset Beach will have the Sunset at Sunset Festival, and end this nonsense of trying to give it away to a nonprofit. So we are not happy that you are not having this discussion, because we feel that this guillotine is hanging over our heads year after year after year, and we're tired of it. We work too hard to be disrespected. Mr. Corbett referenced a letter that came out today that had 5 false statements and was sent to the Beacon. And I want to state, so that everyone hears it, we are being accused of unaccountable expenses for several years totaling nearly $40,000. That is a lie, and I defy anybody to prove it. Now, I respect the work of the council, and the whole committee does, and we appreciate you setting the date. But I got to tell you, we are not happy.
All right, Karen, as I indicated to Mr. Hughes.
I know, I'm sitting down.
Well, I indicated, Mr. Hughes, you have an opportunity to expand on that, on the public comment portion. All right, any other? Thank you, Karen.
Thank you for the opportunity. The committee appreciates it, and maybe this will go away one day.
Any other public comment on the agenda? All right, none appearing, we'll move on to the next item, which is the town administrator report.
I'll be brief. Amber Strickland from Appalachian State began today. She is a graduate level intern who will be working on our stormwater community outreach and education program. So I'm very pleased that she's arrived and started.
Susan, what's her degree in?
Public administration.
And patience. And patience. Do we have to adopt the schedule? Is that on there? Okay. Other department reports. Police. We all have, so the public is aware, we have all received the reports. The reports are on the, as part of the packet on the website, if you're concerned with reading the reports, and the council's taken the position that we want to limit comments and exchange with the department heads for things that were new with any questions that we have. Chief?
We survived the minor snow event. I'm calling it a minor snow event since I'm from the north, but everybody did good driving and staying home when they should have. Ms. Bray also sent out an email with regard to overtime, which I had an opportunity to talk briefly with her today, and I believe that there's a possibility, just to make you aware, that the police department is gonna go over, and we may need an amendment, just due to some differences that, the way the department's being operated now. So, and Ms. Bray's gonna expand on that a little bit, I believe, when she comes up.
Okay. Any questions, Chief? Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Keep those snowplows working. Public Works?
Just like to add that tomorrow we will be placing the bathroom at the gazebo back. Then after we get it set up, we will be taking the bathroom next to Main Street away for maintenance. But also, right now the park and some of the walkways are still shut down because of the ice. Maybe hopefully, but tomorrow it'll be all melted and they'll be back open. For Kobe and North Shore, we are in the planning stage of a pre-bid construction meeting with the contractor to get a date or schedule when they're gonna get started.
And Dustin, that's going to be completed before their Memorial Day weekend?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
Any other questions? Just for public information, I said these were on the website, but oftentimes you don't see these statistics or they're not pointed out to you. This is a November report, but they collected like 322 cubic yards of leaf and limb. We've gone back to a can rollback, and they rolled back a total of 256 trash and recycle cans in the month of November, among all the other issues that are included on this report.
Yes.
The reason I'm pointing these things out is people get an understanding of what the staff is really doing.
And also, 40th Street, we'll be shutting it down in the next couple of weeks to do some repairs to it also. So you'll have to.
You will do that quickly, right?
Well, try to. So that you'll have to go out on 39th Street when we do it.
Other, thank you,
Okay.
Dustin. Planning?
Mayor,
I'm
can I
sorry.
make one statement before
Yes.
Hiram comes up here? The reason that we have not reopened the park or some of the beach accesses is because we choose not to salt those. We want to be environmentally aware and we'll let the sun take care of it. We don't wish to put any salt over the dunes or in the park near the water bodies.
Thank you. Any questions, or you have any additions?
Well, I was going to let y'all know that the land use plan, Wes let me know that they've forwarded it onto our CAMA regional planning consultant with, should hopefully hit their April meeting. So we should know more in April about the finalization of the land use plan.
Any questions, Hiram? With regard to his report, this is mainly for general consumption. These are totals, and this is just for the month of November. There were 25 UDO permits issued. They conducted 77 inspections. Permits, there were 27 code enforcement actions. This is just the month of November. And total inspections were 260 with an average inspection of 14.44 inspections per day. The number of houses that are being built on the island are 21, and being built on the mainland is 15, for a total of 36 that are under construction.
I reversed my numbers. It's 15 and 21.
Oh, it's still 36.
Yeah.
That was back in November.
Yeah, that was back in November, but it presently, as of this week, it's also about the same. I mean, we've CO'd a few over the last few weeks, but we've also permitted several more. So it stays around 35 to 40 at any given moment.
Right. Once again, I just wanted to give the public a flavor for what's
Quick
going on.
question. How close is the Palm Cove issues to being resolved?
They're finished with the work. I'm still waiting to hear back from FEMA. I have not been able to get in touch with our representative on that, but at the same time, it was over the holidays. So I'm waiting until next week. If I haven't heard anything, I'm going to give them another call. So.
And that's for FEMA to approve the repairs that were made?
Right. This was a
Okay.
FEMA CAV, so they have to be the ones to approve it.
All right, thank you.
you.
Fire?
It was a major snow event. It wasn't even snow, it was more ice. We made it through pretty well. We had a few vehicles in the ditch. But the cold air really took a toll on us. We have been wide open with broken pipes and fire alarm activations and freezing. I've never seen it. It's never happened. Happened this year. Elevators actually froze over at the Park Road condos. We actually had to force open the doors to get somebody out. So if you hear about that, there was somebody trapped inside. We did force the doors open, and that's all we had. We couldn't get it open. It was frozen shut. We have been extremely busy the last couple of days, to the tune that we've run 51 calls just this month already. And we totaled out at about 1,500 for last year. Busiest December I've ever experienced in Sunset Beach. So I don't know what's going on, but it's been very, very busy.
Any other questions? For, I'm sorry, go ahead. For public consumption, according to the report, once again, this was as of November, they had 64 incidents at Station 1, 69 incidents that Station 2 responded to, 39 fires this 1 month within the town, 42 EMS calls within the town, 12 fires outside the district, but inside the district, but outside the town, 32 EMS in the same, there are 5 mutual aid, 3 EMS mutual aid. The total responses for November were, fire was 56 and EMS was 77. Once again, that's for public edification, that you can see what the activity has been.
As Ken brought up, the overtime issue was brought to my attention also. We did go for a while where we were short on personnel, so our overtime is showing pretty high for the first half of the year due to lack of personnel and gentlemen filling in for those spots. I expect it to go down. We're going to monitor the situation. Bonnie and I talked about it today, now that we're back to full staff. So
thank you.
We'll keep you apprised of that.
Thank you. Finance? Finance?
Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. I have 2 things to talk about. One is an overtime report, which you all received late Friday afternoon, so I hope you had a chance to read it over. The reason why I gave you the information is to just give you an idea of where we are now. We have actual overtime figures from July through December, now through the end of December, but we have to project what we're going to have by the end of June in order to see how close we are to being on budget. If my projections are correct, we're going to be on budget within $1,000. But as I also said in my email, the department heads, they were my projections, not the department heads' projections. So we're now starting the process of drilling down through those numbers, seeing if they are realistic. By the time we get to start the budget cycle, we will have done that. So we'll be able to have a very open and detailed discussion about overtime and a range of other things, that with information that is more germane than what you received on Friday. It's just a first stab at it to start the dialogue. There are a number of assumptions I made in doing the projections. The main one being is that most of the overtime activity occurs during the summer when our population swells. We have a lot more going on from July through December as far as time spent by employees than we do from, outside of people's normal schedules than we do from January through June. Obviously, it starts to heat up after the end of, from Memorial Day on, but the staff time load is heaviest at the beginning of the fiscal year rather than at the end of the fiscal year.
Bonnie, maybe you want to tell the people how much the overtime was, dollar-wise.
Sure.
Mr. Mayor,
Bob, wait, Rich, let me finish.
yeah, it's $200,000, Mark.
I know what it was, Rich.
Yeah. Well, The point that
It's-
I'm just trying to make is,
Excuse me.
I asked
Should I
for-
answer the question?
Excuse, let her answer the question.
Okay.
Okay. As far as the information that we had available to us now, we have budgeted 98,900, so 99,000 for the year in overtime dollars.
You're talking about fiscal year.
Fiscal year, yes, from July 2017 to June 2018. We budgeted 99,000 approximately. We have used 78,000 as of the end of December, and I projected another 21,000 in the months from now until the end of June, which gets us to 99,500. So we're within $500. And I didn't do that backwards. I mean, I didn't decide where I needed to be and then project. It's based on, we have 5 different departments that actually have people who use overtime. That's administration, police, fire, inspections and planning, and public works. And each department's load was determined based on their specific situations. Administration has a different situation than fire and police have, for instance, because fire and police are busiest in the summer months when we have a lot more people. Administration load stays relatively the same, constant, and inspections and planning the same thing. Public Works had spent the lion's share of its overtime budget in the first half of the year because it had several positions vacant. So now those positions are filled, and we don't anticipate that the overtime, but ideally there would be no overtime because you have your staffing requirements, your staffing needs should meet the money that you have budgeted for them in non-overtime hours. So to answer Mr. Benton's question, I'm projecting that we'll spend 99,000. We budgeted 99,000. Last year we actually used 127,000. So if my projections are correct, which is debatable, but at this point that's all we've got, then we budgeted and we spent 127,000 last year. We may be spending 99,000 this year. So there's about a 30,000 difference less this year than last year.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, forgive me. I sent a request to Bonnie, I think it was a couple of weeks ago or so, and she was very responsive and wrote 2 reports regarding overtime. I didn't intend this to be a discussion about overtime. I think this was something that we should understand and look at maybe during the budget process. And I get the impression that everyone's getting defensive about it. That's not the purpose of the reason why I asked the question. The reason why I asked the question is because I wanted to know. That's
fine.
all.
I
That's all.
I
And
didn't- I
everybody's
didn't-
getting defensive about it.
No,
I don't
but-
understand this.
But you
And
tonight.
then you're reading all the, and you're trying to attempt to justify how busy we are by reading reports that are included in the packet.
Where did you get your number of $200,000 in overtime? Which
From
you
a
just stated
report
to me?
that Bonnie sent me, the first report.
I don't know which report you're referring to.
I'll bring it in tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. This is the information as of now.
Yeah, no, I understand that,
which
Bonnie.
would be half that.
But no one has to get defensive.
Okay,
I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I'm just saying, it's just it's a cost of doing business, period.
The reason I'm making the statements with regard to the activity of the departments is in the interests of open public information, sharing that with the public and making them aware of it. All right, and it's for no other purpose.
I understand that, but Mr. Mayor, it's
no
in their
other purpose-
packet.
No other purpose than that. Thank you, Bonnie. Wait.
One more
thing.
announcement. We are now taking credit card payments face-to-face and online. So if anyone wants to pay for a traffic citation, any kind of permit, building permit or yard sale permit, basically anything that we take over the counter, we can also now take online. If you go to our website, up in the top right-hand corner, there's a little notice that says pay online, and there are 4 different categories, one for police, one for fire, one for general miscellaneous, and one for permitting. And most of the payments fall in the general miscellaneous, and so there's a wide variety of things. And if you have any questions or your constituents have any questions, Joanne Thomason, who is at the front desk, is our resident credit card expert, and she will be able to help you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Old business, a consideration of the appointment of ABC board member.
Mr. Mayor, we've been blessed to have 3 outstanding candidates to fill this appointment. I would like to nominate Roy Cuniff, who is seeking reappointment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, I'd like to talk a little bit.
Okay, discuss.
I agree, 3 good candidates. Thank all of you for your support to Sunset Beach. Betty Oates served on the ABC board from about 2001 until her term expired in November. Roy Cuniff is completing his 3-year term, and we had Judy Finnison, a 5-year resident and who represents New Blood and is willing to support us. Having said that, in recognition of her dedicated service and experience on the ABC board, I personally support appointing Betty Oates for another term and encourage Roy and Judy to find other ways to support Sunset Beach. The point being, we've got 3 good candidates. Any of them could do a really good job. We just have different views on which one should be doing it.
All right, any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I don't know Ms. Finnison except for the interview.
Make sure you get the microphone.
I don't know Ms. Finnison except for the interview. I do know Roy and I do know Betty, and it's really tough because I think they both do a good job. I would support Betty only because of the large amount of time and the experience she has. Thank you.
All right, on the motion to appoint Roy Cuniff to the ABC board, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
The ayes have it.
I'm going to go aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Number 5B is consideration of the approval of the budget amendment to close the park project fund. If I can come forward, Bonnie. There's a report that Bonnie filed with regard to the park. It can be closed out. Basically what a report said is that the total revenue was $980,000, $980,700, which is made up of $418,300 of grants, $23,900 from donations, $538,500 transferred from the general fund. The total cost to construct the park was $860,000, and she breaks down between what went into that cost, which results in a surplus as a result of spending $111,000 less on amenities than was originally planned and receiving $13,800 more in donations. So we have a surplus in that fund, and you want to explain what you want to do with it?
That's basically it. What has to happen, now that the town park is completed, the grant is closed out, we need to close the fund that the money has been accounted for in, which means we need to transfer the fund balance, or what's left, that's the only thing that's left, into the general fund.
And what the council's requesting to do is to transfer $120,100 from Fund 41 Sunset Beach Park Fund to the Fund 10 General Fund.
Correct.
And that would close out the park fund.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to file a motion to close the Sunset Beach Park Fund and transfer the surplus to the general fund balance.
I second.
Any further discussion?
Just one question. I thought we were finishing the expenses of the park, and then I've noticed several kiosks. Is the
I
park
can't hear you,
now
Rich.
completed? Were they donated?
I can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
I can't hear you.
Oh. The question I have, Councilman Nerd, is we have several kiosks. I thought the platform that we expended was the last expense for the park. but I've noticed several more kiosks that have been installed. With those donations?
Susan has an answer, Rich.
No, of the 3 kiosks, 1 was a donation, the 2 were always planned to be installed. We were waiting, that was the absolute last thing. That way we'll put the park rules and the posters for the events posted on there, so, yes, sir. Got it.
All right, all those in favor of the transfer of the funds?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Bonnie. Next item is the consideration of the event date for Sunset at Sunset in 2018.
I move we consider the event date of October the 6th, 2018 for Sunset at Sunset.
I second that motion.
Discussion?
Well, one, it was my agenda item, so I should have been able to speak first. And I think
No,
we
it's
should...
not your agenda item. It says right here, Councilman Serrato.
I put on the date.
Guys, let's get over this.
So, the point, I would like to amend the motion and add into it that it continue as a town-sponsored event run by the town of Sunset Beach, by the Sunset Beach Sunset at Sunset Committee. For clarity. You agree?
You can't add that now.
Well, it was her motion, and she agrees with it.
But you can't add that as an agenda item right now.
We didn't add it as an agenda.
John did. Right now, the discussion is the date only.
And there's no discussion in the future as to how it's going to take place, so...
That doesn't mean that we can't add it down to on a different agenda, on a different date.
Bob, you're making this confusing.
The motion that...
I'm not the one making it confusing.
The motion that Councilwoman Harris seconded came out to the effect that it approves Sunset at Sunset to be held on October 6, 2018, continuing as a town-sponsored event run by the town of Sunset Beach Sunset at Sunset Committee. Period.
For,
And that was seconded.
you're saying for this year?
That's all we're saying, is for this year.
That's what you're saying?
Where does that say, on Old Business C, where does it say that? It says date.
It says so in the email that I sent to Lisa, and then not everything gets into the agenda item, the description.
You can send it
on
to
here.
Lisa all you want, John. It's got to be on the agenda so the public sees it. That's, Bob, you know that is right.
I'm calling for a vote on the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
What motion?
On the motion that was made and seconded.
The motion is to have the Sunset at Sunset events
I'll characterize
still under the town structure
for this year.
for this year, and it's
On
going to be
October
held
6th.
on October 6th. Is that correct,
That's-
Mr. Mayor?
that's
Run
correct.
by the committee.
It's under the town structure.
How are you wording it, Bob?
I'm not wording it, that's the motion. And Jan, that was your second?
Call for a vote?
Yeah, I called for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No. I want to say something. Everybody in this room, I'm going to tell you right now, I think the Sunset at Sunset should stay in the town of Sunset, but not run by that committee anymore. If you look at other fairs in this town, in this area, they have 20,000 people go to the Shrimp Fest. They have 50,000 go to the Blue Crab Festival. They have another 60,000 go to the Oyster Festival. We have thousands. 10 years, Mrs. Joseph's run this program, and we've never increased our revenue.
I'm going to call you out of order. You're not supposed to engage in personalities.
I apologize.
The next item on the agenda is consideration of year-end bonus for full-time employees.
What was-
We're into new business. The next is a consideration of year-end bonus for full-time employees.
okay.
Councilman Corbett?
A little bit of discussion on this. At the end of our December 19 meeting, Mayor Pro Tem Mark Benton went around to the council members to see if we would support a bonus. And it generally appeared that we would support a bonus, a one-time bonus, recognizing the outstanding performance by the entire staff in support of our town of Sunset Beach. Special meeting was called. It was canceled when we could not get a quorum, and it is so it's still up in the air to make a vote. After discussion with Mayor Pro Tem Mark Benton, there's some questions in terms of exactly what we should do with the bonus, ranging from $300 for everybody at a one-time bonus, or a 2.5% bonus for everybody as a one-time bonus, or some type of a split between the staff. And with that, he proposed that we defer any final decisions here to our January meeting. And I have no problem with doing that.
The January 23rd meeting.
January 23rd meeting.
Correct.
And I have no trouble doing that. Did I?
That's fine, John,
Did
thank
I
you.
put that all right? So the idea is we'll figure out how to do a bonus system for this
All
past
right,
year.
so that's good.
But
That
we
will-
will do a bonus.
That will be on the agenda for the 23rd. All right.
May
the-
I
Yes.
speak? I learned of this agenda item at 2 o'clock on Friday, and there's no attachments to the agenda to support, no data to support this recommendation. I would like to see some data go along with the agenda item at the 23rd, please.
It's fair. It's fair.
Mr. Mayor, there's a long history to the bonus program, and I have to bless Carol Scott for her perseverance. 2 years ago, we went to a pay-for-performance system.
Rich, are we?
We can,
are we gonna
I'll
discuss-
delay this, Mr. Mayor, I'll delay this to the 23rd.
Fine, thank you. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is consideration of the fiscal year, or approval of fiscal year 2018-19 proposed budget meeting calendar. You all received it. Anybody have any comment with regard to it?
Mr. Mayor, if this needs a motion, I would like to adopt the fiscal year 2019 calendar by the finance director. I also wish to remind the council on that same day, we have a dredging program review at 9 a.m. So I have no difficulty.
We should be through that by 1 o'clock.
Huh?
We should be through that at 1 o'clock, the first event on the budget.
No, I'm just saying,
I second it.
don't want to confuse people.
All right, there's a motion, a second. Any further discussion?
No.
None appearing, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The next item is consideration of the acceptance of the planning board recommendation for UDO Amendment Article 11, signs, Section 11.08, exemptions 12, special event signs, and scheduled public hearing for February 5 at 7 p.m. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, oh, what are we talking about, the signs?
Yes.
Yeah, I have the same concern that former Pro Tem Mayor Carol Scott expressed. And I also have another concern. Is it the town's responsibility to advertise for profit-making organizations?
If I may real quick, this is just, well, I'm just letting you know, it's a land use matter of just where they can go and how long they can stay up.
Right.
It's neutral content as far as who's doing what. It's the special event as advertised, as allowed by the ordinance, not allowed by the park. It's separate from the park
And that's going to be
rules.
discussed on the 5th.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's all a discussion that can happen after the public hearing.
Okay.
But I'm happy to answer any questions right now prior
There
to
is-
that too. That's neutral based like this. I mean, it's not really about who's doing what. It's
Okay, I'm
it's
just-
about where it can go and how long it can stay.
There
up.
is, so everybody is aware, there are present parameters in the UDO, and this is just changing what those parameters were.
Well, and the reason being is because some special events, as approved by the town, haven't been conforming with the land use ordinances because largely it's just, it's not ran by the same, it's not permitted by the same people. So there's just some overlap that needs to either be brought together and combined into some form where everything's not matching for like.
All right,
Okay.
Susan?
And I also wanted just to make a comment that that initial special event in the UDO, the sign ordinance, was adopted prior to we actually started the events in the park. So it was an unknown territory. We
This is
didn't
based on
know.
experience.
Yeah, now it is,
We're-
yes.
we're-
I'm just helping.
We're the motion is to schedule a hearing for February 5th. The planning board has gone through it. They've made the recommendations to be adopted. We hold a hearing. We can make any changes or whatever we consider
All right.
during, before, or after the.
So
After
Mr.
the public
I
hearing.
have
Mr.
a
Mayor, you need a
question.
motion?
I think we already did it.
I did the motion.
Yeah, and then was second. All's in favor?
Aye.
I had a question.
I'm sorry.
I am down here.
Okay.
Just to clarify for me, the only changes are these
In red.
In red.
In red.
Still aye.
All right, so the hearing will be set for February 5th at 7 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay, for that meeting.
Thank you.
Review upcoming agenda items and identify new agenda items for the January 23 meeting. We've got the one we just.
John and I would like to add the bonus structure on that meeting.
Mr. Mayor, can I just reiterate what may be on it? I mean.
Yeah, I'll go over it in here in a second.
Okay, thank you.
I wanted to add two items. One is the consideration of a communications policy. That would be a policy that would apply to members of council with regard to communication, both with public and with regard to the Open Public Meetings Act.
What date, sir?
23rd.
Okay.
You'll have something to sink your teeth into and revise or throw out or do whatever what you want with it, but I would like that on for the 23rd. The second thing is that and I like to put it as an agenda item on the 23rd, I intend to present a brief overview of the statement of the town, just for members of the public to review what's taken place in the past year, since we're starting basically a new 2-year council period. And I would like that for the 5th, not for the 23rd, for the 5th. So the 23rd will be the ERC committee rules and regulations discussion, conflict of interest policy discussion, Cabanas Beach Patrol discussion, fire department staffing discussion concerning climate control measure, the communications policy, and the bonus structure.
Question. Didn't we at the last meeting determine that we had already gotten the briefing back in November on the Cabanas and the beach patrol and that as such, we really don't need to do it again?
Well, it's Mr. Serrato's request.
I mean, but we have done it. I'd be glad to read the beach patrol results to you.
Mr. John, the mayor asked me to talk to the fire chief, and I did talk to the fire chief, and he communicated issues which you are aware of that were not presented to the council, and I want this matter reviewed. Mr. Mayor,
It will be on the, it's going to be a draft agenda anyway, so we can deal with it on the 23rd.
But this will be new stuff, new information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Yes.
what was already given to us.
That's what was assumed, yes.
Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you wanted to add this to, well, maybe we should add it, the concert series. I'm personally concerned that I don't believe anyone has stepped forward. It's a well-attended and enjoyed event, and we need to somehow have a contingency plan in the event that someone does not step forward to sponsor this event.
It's an issue that has to be addressed, and has to be addressed quickly. I don't suggest it's on the 23rd, because Susan's not going to be here.
Oh, that's fine.
We could do it for the 5th, but.
That's fine, Mr. That's fine.
All right, anything else with regard to items upcoming?
I think we have a plenty.
We have plenty for the 23rd.
Question.
Bring your lunch.
Mr. Mayor?
7 minutes of cake.
Question. Will we get some background information on the concert series plan for how to take action?
Well, yeah,
I talked to
somebody,
Mrs.
are you?
I talked to Mrs. Barker about that, John, and she's going to put something together for us to look at.
We've been meeting on that. There'll be something of substance. It's not just going to be beating our gums over.
Oh, good.
Nothing in it. The next item on the agenda is public comments. Once again, did I leave something out? Oh, yeah, your appointment, oh, yes, the appointments for the, we need an appointment for the North Carolina Beach Inlet and Waterway Association. What
What is
exactly
that?
do they do?
I volunteered.
What exactly do they do?
Is that the, Susan, is that the event that I went to a couple of months ago? Is that part of?
I'm sorry, I can't hear y'all.
Yes, yes, sir, it was.
It's on Rich.
Susan,
sir.
is that the event?
Yes, sir.
Well, I would like to nominate, I am not an environmentalist, but I do enjoy learning. But I think we need someone who has the expertise that can explain it in lay language. And I would like to nominate Ms. Jan Harris for this appointment.
I second.
Discussion?
Could you get, what is the organization's name clearly?
North Carolina Beach Inlet and Waterway Association.
Is
They
that a
have-
state organization, a county, or a
No,
private?
it's a county organization, and it follows legislation that could affect us as far as funding and/or programming within our inlets and waterways.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The next is the appointment to the Brunswick Shoreline Protection Consortium. This isn't the one that ran into trouble, did it? Is it? Oh,
Yes, it is.
okay. Uh,
Can you explain
And this
what it is?
organization now is
You're on.
is also monitored or supervised by the county, Brunswick County, and is held in Bolivia.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, again, since we have a specialist on this council, I would like to nominate Ms. Jan Harris for the appointment of this
Second.
committee.
Discussion? All
Do
those
you
in
want
fa-
to do it, Jan?
Suppose.
She loves it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, now is the opportunity for public comments. Once again, I want to admonish everybody before we start of the items I read at the beginning of the meeting. One, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. 2 individuals are allowed to speak once per public comment period. Comments are to be directed towards the full council and not individual members. And these periods are intended for use as,
Bob, there's a game on tonight.
I know that, but at use and discussions between the speaker and council, not for individual attacks.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to hear the people give their address as required. It may help me understand if they live on the island, the mainland. Some people come from Calabasas.
Okay, just identify whether you, well, they have to identify their address if you're not familiar with the address. You're right, if you identify it's island or mainland, that would help out. Okay? Public comment. Ma'am?
So my name is Mary Hughes. I live at 513 Lakeshore Drive. I wrote a very nice long note that I wanted to read to all of you, which I can't because we didn't discuss Sunset.
You can now. You can discuss anything you want.
But the basis of it has changed a little bit.
You
So
can discuss that the sun's going to come up in the west if you want. You're free to discuss whatever you want.
So I've been a resident for about 5 years here at Sunset, and I've participated on the Sunset Committee for 2 years and volunteered the year before that. So I've been very involved in what the process is to put on the festival and the work that goes into it, and the timing of it, actually, because it kind of starts in January and goes all year long to get your sponsors, get the entertainment, get everything lined up. I think it's a wonderful event. I think it's very fun-filled. I think everybody has a good time. Again, it's for the town. I don't think it's intended to grow to a gazillion million people coming. It was just to be a town event. So I guess my comments are, the committee meets monthly. The committee posts their notes, I believe, on the town website, and it's sent to Lisa and Joanne. So it's there for anybody to read what's happening. So if you have questions on what's going to be held at the event, you're going to know it because it's out there for you to read. Secondly, I would also say, come to a meeting, I think we have a liaison, but I'm not totally sure because I'm not sure I saw you too often. But, so I would just say, you know, the town structure, when you mention town structure, you know, as a committee member, that means to me we have a committee that is managing this on your behalf. If you're looking to now change even that, I think you need to state that. Because it takes a lot of people to make this event happen, and it has to start in January. Setting a date for October does nothing for me as a committee member if you're still going to be arguing over how you're going to have the town structure managing it. So I think you do need to put it back on the calendar and make a commitment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other public comment? Lynn?
Len Steiner, 613 Kings Trail. On your meeting schedules for the middle of the month, okay, your workshops, they ought to be pure workshops, my opinion. Should not be a vote allowed at those. You should thrash out all the details that you need to thrash out, okay, so that when you come to this meeting, we'll not have to listen to all the details back and forth. It would be, there would already be a, quote, consensus, and there would be also the opportunity to state your side of the, if you wished, okay, at the, when, after you get the second for the vote, there's a discussion period, so you can state your side of the story if you wish. But please, 9 o'clock is a very inconvenient time. I suspect your attendance is nowhere near like this, and I heartily recommend that you do not vote at those sessions.
Thank you. Other public comment?
Gordon Bockelman, 404 3rd Street on the island. I'm a member of 3 local nonprofits in town, the Old Bridge Preservation Society, the Bird Island Preservation Society, Sunset Vision, and I'm familiar with 3 other local nonprofits, the Brunswick County Literary Society, the Sunset Beach Turtle Watch Program, and the Committee to Honor American Veterans. And my point is that the Sunset at Sunset event in its current structure is very important for the fundraising of all these organizations. It's also a great opportunity for us to make the community aware of the missions that we have. Some of the other ways that we raise funds in the town are by partnering with businesses. And I would like to point out that La Cucina Restaurant has been generous in hosting fundraising events both for the Literary Council and for the Old Bridge Preservation Society. Likewise, Backstreet Cafe has hosted a fundraising event for Sunset Vision. The Old Bridge Preservation Society holds its festival in the park, and that's a great benefit to us for the fundraising. But I'm hope to see the character of Sunset at Sunset maintained as it is, which seems to be the consent of the majority of the council, and to complement the committee members that work very hard. I really, the nonprofits I'm involved with, we have our core missions, and I don't think any of us feel that we could take on the amount of work that that committee does. So I'm happy to see the event going forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comments? Bob?
Bob, the football game's on.
Yeah, but the people are entitled to talk.
My name's Robert Donnelly. I live at 213 Planters Ridge Drive in Sea Trails, Sunset Beach. I was going to keep my mouth shut, but there's a little boiling below my skin here. My mom always told me, don't wash dirty clothes in public, and we seem to do a lot of that here. Sunset is Sunset. I've been on it for 2 years. And like other people have said, we're volunteers. We put a lot of hard work into it. We aren't Little River. We aren't Ocean Ridge. We're Sunset Beach. I put a lot of personal effort into it, and I took some remarks by some people here, somewhat personal tonight. Everybody on this committee tries to do their best. Yeah, we might not have 10, 15, 20,000 people come to the town, but we do a pretty good damn job for the size of the town we have and for the money we get from our vendors and from our sponsors. The committee is part of this town. If you guys got a problem with the committee, come talk to us. We'll listen. We'll take your input. But doing it in public is not the way to do it. You don't give performance evaluations in a public arena. So let's stop talking in public about this thing and start talking to each other and make this event even better than what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other public comment? All right, none appearing. I'm sorry, Karen.
Karen Joseph, 915 Sandpiper Bay Drive in Sandpiper Bay. I want to thank Mr. Donnelly for his comments. When this festival was created, the council that created it said, we want an event for the residents of Sunset Beach to get to know each other and to possibly bring the mainland and the island together. In their discussions, they specifically said, we don't want it to be the Oyster Festival, which at one time was held in Sunset Beach, by the way. Right, Jan? The goal, we are very proud of what we have accomplished. Thousands and thousands of people come to Sunset. We have no way of getting a count because we can't charge. That was never the intention. And there are too many entrances to the area. So it would be impossible to give a very precise number. Little River, they charge. The Oyster Festival, they charge. So they know exactly how many people they have coming through their gates. It's a shame that the alleged liaison chooses to criticize us. If you don't support the committee and what it's doing, then we would like a new liaison. We want somebody who's going to be in our corner and who will tell us, yeah, we'd like you to change this, or yeah, we have a better idea. As Bob said, we'll listen to anybody who wants to come to our meetings, which are always posted on the town website, on the calendar, as are all our minutes that go back to 2008, I believe. So you're all welcome to come. We'll set a meeting because we have to get to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Other public comment?
Barbara Kuczynski Gilbert, 1150 Seabourn Way, Mainland. I'm here because I am a bit concerned of some of the comments against Sunset at Sunset. I totally support it. I support the way it's been run. I like the small town feel. I liked it from the moment I came here and moved here in 2010. I like the fact that even that there's not a charge to get in. That is one thing that I have learned lately, that some people just want to go to attend things with their families and they're not able, whereas this is a nice small town community event that people can go and enjoy and take part. And I really, really hope that we keep it exactly as it is, the small town event for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? None appearing. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You're adjourned.